True peace, true peace. Happy holiday, peacemakers. Happy holiday. Hope all is well. Hope everyone is enjoying a good holiday today on Friday. About to open us up with our divine supplication, our honors, and get us started for today. So first thing first, I want to give honors to the divine creator. Aliyun El, Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Ali, Yahweh, Elohim, the many names that we know the divine creator by, etc. I want to give honors to the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I want to give honors to the forerunner of the prophet, Honorable Marcus Garvey. I want to give honors to the messenger, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I want to give honors to all the Moorish leaders, orators, and speakers that came to help further divine and national movement. I want to give honors to brothers like C.M. Bay. I want to give honors to brothers like H.I.M Bay. I want to give honors to all of the members that will be in participation here tonight. I want to give honors to brothers and sisters all across the entire global village. I want to give honors to everything Moorish, y'all. So with that, let's get us started. I'm gonna share the room to our regular social medias, and we're gonna get started for the night. True peace, true peace, true peace. Welcome to World Temple, branch temple number 24 of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a chartered and incorporated temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America, branch temple number 24. And we are part of the Unity Temple movement within the Moorish Science Temple of America. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I will be sharing tonight's room to our regular social medias real quick. Then we're gonna get started and keep it going, y'all. With our divine supplication. Share the room. Peace, 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 peace. All right. If you just coming in the room, and you just hearing me speak, it's okay to give a greetings in the chat. Just here sharing the room in the background before we get started for today's holy day. And enjoy the message that's going to come through the ancestors today. Today is going to be something heavy in mind. So I'm just going to do what the ancestors want me to do. Put the messages out there for us, the divine messages out there for us. With that, y'all, let's get started. Let's jump right into this divine supplication and bylaws. Divine supplication. Then we're going to jump into the divine constitution and bylaws. here in a second. So, y'all know how it go. Begin all things by using the all. O Heavenly One, the Most High, who is sustainer of all the worlds, we do accept the duty you have laid on us to clean up the filth made by the West and its non-submitting fools. O my sustainer, we beseech you to keep your hand over us to control the strings of the courses of our lives, our sustainer. And if we do wrong, please show our divine blessings and forgiveness on us. You are the only one that can raise us, true followers of the news bearers, and in thy name we carry on. True peace, true peace. All right, y'all, so we're gonna jump right into our daily affirmations that you should be reading with your family. So we have enough replays here now, but that you can actually play during the week if you would like to hear a recital of the daily affirmations. Or you can clip it, either or, and keep it for yourself. That way you have the 19 affirmations. So with that, what we accept as fact as the daily affirmation of loyalty of the children of Elohim, we accept as fact the eternal laws of nature as revealed through science, past events, logic, and common sense. Revealed as right knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. We accept as fact the highest laws of nature is the cooperation and harmony of all living things. We accept as fact our way of life as a means to the best end. We accept as fact that loyalty is the greatest of all honors and treason is the worst of all crimes. We accept this fact that we accept this fact that what is good for the Holy Tabernacle is the highest virtue, and what is bad for the Holy Tabernacle is the ultimate evil. We accept this fact that the Holy Tabernacle is the finest and noblest organization for all humanity, created by circumstances, and the ancient and mystic order of Melchizedek is the noblest of fraternities on and above this planet. We accept this fact that creativity, love, and cooperation are the essence of success. We accept this fact that truth and facts are always and has always been the originator and creator of all success. We accept this fact that all worldwide cultures and civilizations came about from the ancient Sumerians and Kamite Egyptians, and the Anunnaki or Elohims from the heavens without which there would be none. We accept this fact that for the Holy Tabernacle to survive, expand, and advance, we need, first of all, a revolution of values and thoughts, which must start within each person by being truthful with themselves and about themselves. Therefore, we completely and categorically reject all myths, fictions, religions, and lies that have not been proven. That would include your heavens, your hellfires and brimstones, your horned pitchfork devils and your winged angels, your old man God character sitting on a throne up there somewhere. We deal strictly with facts. If you can't prove it, we don't want to hear it. That doesn't mean we won't listen to you. Just don't expect us to accept your beliefs by virtue of a title such as Reverend, Pastor, Deacon, Imam, Sheik, Rabbi, Minister, Theologian, etc. That is your sensationalism, and we deal with just the facts. We accept this fact that the only true revolution is a war of good against evil, right against wrong, fairness against unfairness, loyalty against disloyalty, sincerity against insincerity, honesty against dishonesty. And this war is fought within each person among the agreeable and disagreeable Elohims that make up your willpower. We accept this fact that the unity of our community and its success will only happen with cooperation with all involved. We accept this fact, the total unification of all humanity on the basis of truth, that is, accepting people and races for who and what they are, respecting their culture, their languages, and their beliefs, and expect the same. We accept this fact that the human race's biological and cultural heritage is now under attack by our own morals, our self-righteousness, our desire to control industry, and these things attack the very existence of humanity. We accept this fact that males as well as females are equal in all things and should be dealt with as partners in all matters. We accept this fact that no one race of people is better than the other. In fact, no one wins the race in racism. We accept this fact that communication between different people is the cure to the ignorance that breeds the disease hate. We accept this fact that a good and well-rounded education could prevent most of the ignorance that plagues the world. We accept this fact that the all is just that, the all. You can't take from the all, you can't add to the all. We are all within the all as one. That is our concept of what you call a deity. To the fulfillment of these facts, we children of the Elohim forever pledge our lives, our sacred honor, and our spiritual zeal. True peace, true peace. Not sure who came in the room.
Greetings.
Happy holy day, Noble.
Likewise.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our weekly reading and the divine constitution and bylaws. I'm not sure who came in the room. I can check that when we get to the replay this week. So I'll check that when we get to the replay. Let's get into this week, this divine constitution and Moorish prayer, y'all. And I'm gonna share the room one more time to the family. We're gonna get started. Right. So hope everyone is enjoying their holy day. We're doing our parliamentary opening officially, as we do here every week in the temple. So y'all know how it go. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up, facing the east, feet at a 45-degree angle. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Amen. All right, y'all. So let's get into the divine constitution and bylaws. As it reads, Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce laws with the assistance of the prophets and the grand body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the state government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this state government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. True peace, Islam. All right, y'all. So we're going to jump into our weekly readings, which every week we start off with chapter 25. of the Holy Quran, Circle 7, which you'll be able to get a copy of here soon. I'm fixing up the temple link, fixing up the things, got the store getting ready. So that way we could put up the information that's needed to be in the temple, and it could be acquired by the members of the temple. With that, let's jump into the Holy Quran, Circle 7. Chapter 25, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation. Started this week on a very, very, very touchy subject at the moment in these days and time. So, chapter 25, as it reads, ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother had given you suck. That the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in thy father's house. And when ye separate in the world, remember the relation that bindeth you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother is in adversity, assist him. If thy sister is in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all in your love to each other. So as we say every week, there is something that you get out of this every time, because repetition is the father and mother of learning. So our ethnicity, us as a people, us as humanity, we continue to carry on through our love for each other. We're here to learn to love instead of hate, and guide our meetings according to love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. These principles. All right, y'all. So we're gonna move on to chapter 47, called Egypt, the capital empire of the Dominion of Africa, and it reads: the inhabitants of Africa are the descendants of the ancient Canaanites from the land of Canaan. Old man Cush and his family are the first inhabitants of Africa who came from the land of Canaan. His father Ham and his family were second. Then came the word Ethiopia, which means the demarcation line of the dominion of Amexem, the first true and divine name of Africa. The dividing of the land between the father and the son, the dominion of Cush, northeast and southeast Africa, and northwest and southwest, was his father's dominion of Africa. And in latter years, many of their brethren from Asia and the Holy Lands joined them. The Moabites from the land of Moab, who received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle and inhabit northwest Africa, they were the founders and all the true possessors of the present Moroccan Empire, with their Canaanite, Hittite, and Amorite brethren, who sovereign from the land of Canaan, seeking new home. Their dominion and habitation extended from northeast and southwest Africa across Great Atlantis, even unto the present North, South, and Central America, and also Mexico and the Atlantis Islands, before the great earthquake which caused the Great Atlantic Ocean. The river Nile was dredged and made by the ancient pharaohs of Egypt in order to trade with the surrounding kingdom. Also, the Niger River was dredged by the great pharaoh of Egypt in those ancient days for trade, and it extends eastward from the river Nile westward across the Great Atlantic. It was used for trade and transportation. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and to create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and awful day that is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black and colored, was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. True peace. So that was chapter 47. Chapter 47. And one thing that does stick out is that it gives you the breakdown. This week I want to point this out, that you get a clear breakdown in chapter 47 about the fathers and their role in the initial inheritance of the land, and then the distinction between the son and them getting their inheritance of the land from Africa on over to here in America, and even including those who came out of Asia. So that was a clear breakdown right there from the prophet, and it's there every week. We read it every week, but like I say, you get something out of this every week. So when we touch on these things about our history, and we have people that are dissenters toward the prophet and the message of the prophet, because they chose not to pick up one of the text or the books or the works of the prophet and really look and see what was laid down by the prophet. 9 times out of 10, they actually agree with the prophet, especially in today's social media and hyperism type of environment that we're living in. So let's get into this next chapter, chapter 48, called The End of Time and the Fulfilling of the Prophecies. The last prophet in these days is Noble Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem man from their sinful ways, to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. And before we continue, let me check the space, see if anybody came in. I want to just keep jumping. And know people coming in around this time. Go ahead, y'all. Y'all gonna come on up here. True peace, true peace, true peace, everybody. Right, so let's get back to it. Everybody should stay. I don't know, see me. I just sent you an invite, Sade. True peace, y'all. So let's get right into it. Continuing on, it says John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days, to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner of Jesus, who was divinely prepared by the great God of law, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam. And his name is Noble Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc., that the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of man under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We, as a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, need to serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed, for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation. while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah, honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be longer upon the earthland, which the Lord thy God Allah had given thee. Come, all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and birthright, because you're not Negro. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed that you will learn to love instead of hate. We're trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourself with the family of nations. We honor all true and divine pride. True peace, Islam. Happy holy day, happy holy day, happy holy day. Peace, 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 peace. Welcome, 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 welcome. Y'all can be anywhere in the world, but y'all are here with me tonight, and we're gonna rock out tonight. I got a special message. First, I want to get into our holy instruction from the prophet. That's also in the Holy Quran, Circle 7. So keep the Holy Qurans open. And we know who's the greatest. Allah is the greatest. We know who is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. So right here in chapter 48, it starts off with tonight's message, where it talks about we do not desire to marry into the pale skinned nation, because we're gonna be marrying our Moorish women. We're gonna be help raising up our Moorish women and brothers, our kin, our indigenous peoples. We're gonna be help raising up our indigenous peoples. So go through these holy instructions. So this is to really wake things up, because the prophet gave us instructions on misery. We have instructions on misery. We know misery loves company, as they say. And we understand self-destruction is upon us as a people. And we out here acting like beasts of burden, savage, BTC, especially as a people. And that's due to the insufficiency of knowledge. That's due to the weakness in man. And we have in holy instructions. We have the holy instructions from the prophet about weakness. We have the holy instructions about insufficient knowledge, because we are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That we know. We know. We have the holy instructions about the instability of man, because being inconsistent is very powerful. Just as powerful as being consistent is. It's very powerful. This leads to the weakness. This leads to the the insufficiency, being insufficient, especially in your knowledge, your experience, because you're not doing the work. We're not doing the work. We're not picking up and doing the work. We were given holy instructions about reaching for the pinnacles of wisdom, being truth seekers. We was also given instructions on our soul. On our soul. As we say, you want to mind your mind for the jewels of your soul. So if you're not picking up these jewels and installing them within yourself, embedding them within yourself, what comes out is a bunch of trash. What comes out of your emotional state is a bunch of hogwash. That goes in conjunction with the holy instructions for the breath, which we call the holy breath, the ruach, the soul. That breath coming from your soul. More people are concerned with the vessel, what it looked like, and or even how much they think they know, because that sacred breath, that divine essence that's within you, that is the real you. More concerned with the house that of the essence within it. We was also given holy instructions about knowing thyself, knowing who we are, which is what I just mentioned about knowing who you are. A lot of us doubt who we are. We go through the fears and the wondering about who we are. We was given holy instructions from the prophet about religion, our culture, and how we are to conduct ourselves, how we are to be one with the omnipotent, omniscient, the omnipresent. These customs that you have all across the world that comes from the divine, which is why we have a nucratic theocracy. We was given holy instructions from the prophet about our sincerity, about being genuine, about sticking to the truth, having integrity. Not getting caught up in all of the social media opinions that are going on today. All the people that speak not, or I'm sorry, the people that do speak from their own understanding. Because as we know, we're not to speak from our own understanding, especially when it concerns us as a community, the soul of our people. The prophet left us with instructions on gratitude, being thankful, being thankful. Because we look at a lot of our responsibilities that we have, not in a cheerful manner. Especially today, it's considered slavery to be responsible. It's considered oppressive to be responsible. I'm going somewhere with this tonight. Real. So the prophet also left us with instructions on being charitable, giving charity, operating in love, that divine love, assisting those who have less, who are less fortunate. We have a lot of wealthy people across the world, don't seem to know where to put the money, and they only want to give it to people that already have the fortune. The prophet also left us with instructions on justice, how these things will play out, how these things will operate. Because whether you do the right thing or the wrong thing, what, like they say, what goes around comes around. Goes around comes around. What comes around goes around. This is concerning our happiness. So you want to put things into perspective here. You want to make deposit of good, high quality energy, vibrations, so that way it reverberates around, regardless of what's going on around you and the things that are happening. We have to be careful of our tongue, things that we say. The prophet left us with instructions on our social duty. So we have a duty to society. We have a duty to our social environment, especially if we, especially if we, as the Royal Council, Adept, Grand Sheik, etc., have these leadership roles. These are roles of responsibility, not just roles to be aggrandized, bragged about, notoriety. The prophet left us with holy instructions for working, for having a job, for being a servant, for being a master. If you are a master, you're an adab, you're a grand sheik, etc, whatever, pastor, priest, whatever comes with that. You are a master of the craft, whatever craft that might be, with trade or skill that might be. There is holy instructions given between the two. And there's loyalty within that. There's loyalty within that. That might be a harsh word for people today, especially the way these concepts change and mutate over time, but they're still the same principle, same concept. We are to exercise the highest virtue when it comes to being obedient, when it comes to our submission to the divine will. This is what Islam is about. That's all it is. It's submitting to the divine will of the divine creator. It's just that simple. It's nothing, not even to deal with peace, because you don't get peace until you get in tune with the divine will and the divine creator. We was also left with instructions on how to unify, how to be one unit. This is a gift to us, especially us who are readers, who ikra, who read, especially the Quran, especially the Quran. This information was channeled down through psychographic writing, automatic writing, and inherited, and it continued to be passed down. We was given instructions on how we should conduct ourselves with our children, how we should raise our children, to support our children, leave them with these same divine instructions, little bit by little bit. And the first holy instruction was given to our young men. Like I said last week, we got our brothers and sisters, especially our young brothers, being gunned down by police, whether they Moorish, melanated, black or not, gunning down each other, whether they police or not, caught up in the wantonness of life, of this world. And last but not least, which actually comes after, right after the holy instructions for the young man, we have marriage instructions from the prophet. We was given marriage instructions from the prophet. And that's what we're going into tonight. We're going into our marriages, our families, how we are self-destructing. That race, that racism, that prejudice, that self-hate, that fear, these things that are at the core of keeping us divided as a people. The opinion of men and women not rooted in fact, not rooted in divine instruction. And before marriages, we didn't call it marriage, because before that word came around, what would have called a relationship? So we understood that we were building legacies, that we had a divine trust, a testamentary trust. We were building trust. We were those who were faithful to each other. Simple and plain. Simple and plain. Today, we have a lot of craziness going on in the world versus what we were given. So with that, I want to go into the Holy Quran Circle 7, chapter 21, and read these marriage instructions. So if you get a copy of your Holy Quran Circle 7, you can actually read the marriage instructions with me, or you can get into them on your own later on, however you want to do it. But I'm going to read through the instructions coming from the Prophet. And the Prophet says, "Give ear, fair daughter of love, to the instructions of prudence, and let the precept of truth sink deep in thy heart. So shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy form and thy beauty. Like the rose, it resembleth it, shall retain its sweetness when its blossom is withered. When its bloom is withered. In the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze on thee with delight, and nature whispereth it in thine ear, the meaning of their look, ah, hear with caution their seducing words. Guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasion. Remember, thou art made man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passion. The end of thy being is not merely a gratify, is not merely to gratify his loose desire, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart and thy tenderness, and recompense his care with softness and endearment. Who is she that winneth it, the heart of man, that subdueth him to love, and reigneth it in his breast? Lo, wonders she walketh it in maiden sweetness, with innocence in her mind and modesty on her cheek. Her hand seeketh it employment for her foot. Her hand seeketh it employment, her foot delighted not in gating abroad. She clothed with neatness. She clothed with neatness. She is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory circling her head. On her tongue dwelleth music, the sweetest of honey, floweth it from her lips. Decency is in all her words, and her answers are mildness and truth. Submission and obedience are the lessons of her life, and peace and happiness are her reward. Before her steps walketh it, prudence and virtue attendeth it at her right hand. Her eye speaketh it softness and love, but discretion with a scepter sitteth it on her brow. The tongue of licentiousness is dumb in her presence. The awe of her virtue keepeth it him silent. When scandal is busy and the fame of her neighbors is tossed from tongue to tongue, if charity and good nature open her mouth, the finger of silence resteth it on her lip. So take a pause right there real quick. As y'all can see, it's not saying bow down and kiss the ring and you have to do what I say, woman. This perception of patriarchy that they have for patriarchy due to European psychology. What we're looking at is the psychology of us as Moorish people. What we're listening to is the holy instruction. Well, these are marriage instructions. The prophet didn't call them holy instructions. He said directly, these are the marriage instructions. And this is coming from our ancient traditions of how we done things from a higher self perspective. So let's let's get into it. It says, her breast is the mansion of goodness, and therefore she suspected it no evil of others. Happy were the man that she should make her his wife. Happy the child that happy the child happy the child that should call her mother. She presided it in the house, and there is peace. She commanded it with judgment and is obeyed. She ariseth it in the morning. She considers her affairs and appointed it to everyone their proper business. That's one to take take on the take on a recollection of. Continuing on, it says, the care of her family is her whole delight. To that alone she appealeth her study, and eloquence with frugality is seen in her mansion. The prudence of her management is an honor to her husband. He heareth her praise with a secret delight. She informeth the mind of her children with wisdom. She fashioned their manners from the examples of her own goodness. The words of her mouth is the law of their youth. The motion of her eyes commanded their obedience. She speaketh it, and the servants fly. She pointeth it, and the thing is done. For the law of love is in her heart, and her kindness addeth it wings to their feet. In prosperity she is not puffed up. In adversity she healeth it the wound of fortune with patience. The troubles of her husband are alleviated by her counsels, and sweetened by her endearment. He putteth it his heart in her bosom, and receiveth it comfort. Happy is the man that has made her his wife. Happy the child that called her mother. True peace, y'all. So the prophet really spoke directly to the woman in these marriage instructions, directly to the women in the marriage instruction. We're gonna come back to why that is as I continue on. So I want to get into chapter 22, which is called the duty of a husband. So the prophet gave us the insight on what the duties of a husband are, especially as Moorish men, indigenous men, and people. This is something that you can reflect on. The reason why I'm touching on this is not to be caught up in all of the trends that are going on, the things that are taking place. Is to provide potion, to provide healing to the situation, to provide remedy to the issues that we have, especially today with the things that are taking place through social media and the blatant attacks that are happening with our family. Because we have to understand that when you start attacking the marriage institution, which is not a new thing, this is not a new thing. Because attacking our marriages, this is also a part of the the European supremacy or the white supremacy that has engulfed the planet. So this the attack on our marriages is also a part of the spell of Leviathan. It's a part of the gender war. Not the gender war, but the race divide, I'm sorry. Because notice, like I said, the first thing that we're going to touch on here tonight, as it's stated that we do not want to marry back into the pale skin and amalgamate ourselves into the pale skin nation. This is because we start to lose touch with us, and we start to lose touch with ourselves and who we are as a people, our way of thinking, which is thinking in a natural context, in a natural sense of things. Being one with nature, being loving, being unified, having the holy instructions, following the instructions of unity, which is not only mentioned in the Quran, but Circle 7 Quran, but it's also mentioned in El's Holy Quran, the Torah, and all the way back. So let's get into chapter 22, the duties of a husband. And it reads, take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinances of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. But examine with care and fix not suddenly. On thy present choice depends thy future happiness. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and ornament, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise, if she laugheth it much and talketh it loud, if her foot abided not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness rove on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven, turn thy face from her charm, turn thy feet from her paths, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurement of imagination. But when thou findest sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manner, and accomplished mind, with a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house. She is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, the wife of thy bosom. Oh, cherish her as a blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. She is the mistress of thy house. Treat her therefore with respect, that that thy servants may obey her. Oppose not her inclination without cause. She is the partner of thy care. Make her also the companion of thy pleasure. Reprove her faults with gentleness. Exact not her obedience with rigor. Trust thy secrets in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou shalt not be deceived. Be faithful to her bed, for she is mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assaults her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. A look from thee of pity and love shall alleviate her grief, and or instigate her pain and be of more avail than 10 physicians. Consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thy own imperfection. So these are the duties of the man, of the husband. So that means Nubian, Moorish, indigenous men should not out here be acting wild like they now, like the saying goes, and black men don't cheat, because grown black men who understand the duties of a husband is not going to be bringing corruption into his house, into his woman's bed, into her domain. She is that man's counsel, simple and plain. Again, the prophet is putting his attention on the woman, especially for the man, because I don't think women want their husband to be having their man's attention on men. We're talking about the relationship between man and woman. So the prophet the prophet didn't even give us duties for the woman, because it's right there. It's right there with the instructions between man and woman. So this is why the prophet focused on the woman and how men treat their women. There's more of them than it is of us. So let's go into the perspectives of what we have today. Well, we have a lot of confusion. We have the 50-50 conversation. We got the he need to pay all the bills conversation. I don't want to have no household duties as a woman conversation, because this is what we coming down to, and we know us as a people have been infiltrated by these other secular movements that have nothing to do with our divinity, that have nothing to do with our sacredness. They turned the European woman's liberation into our liberation when our women were already liberated. Our women are already liberated. Now, depending on what faith you was under, especially being under modern Orthodox Islamic Sharia law, then you may have dealt with the poisonous results that came out of the corruption of Islam. But prior to that, whether you go to any culture around the world, our women were already liberated. Our women were honored with the gods and the men, etc. Now, through time, you have the men being put out front, and you have what we call the patriarchy being put in place. But going back into our culture, we kept a supreme balance, which in ancient times we called ma'at or mat. There was always balance between us as a people. Today, we're dealing with a lot of the opposite, a lot of chaos, chaos within our homes, chaos within our families, internal chaos, because these Elohims, these divine forces that make up our willpowers, they're out of alignment. We're not being truthful with ourselves and about ourselves. So that caused me tonight, after branching off what we did last week, we're talking about the things that are keeping us divided amongst ourselves, people. The self-hate, fear, all these things. I say, well, what with all that is going on, I need to go ahead and touch on the other aspect of it and take it even closer home, which is touch on our marriage. Touch on our marriage. So we're gonna read we're going to read Proverbs 31. Because last week I mentioned that you have the proverb, the woman of Proverbs who takes up her life in positive action. Verb, action, pro, positive, forward, progressionary action for her family, for her community, for her people. Today we have a misunderstanding of what this is about. And Proverbs actually comes from African proverbs. These are ancient African proverbs, or ancient indigenous people's proverbs. So let's get on and get into this. All right, we're gonna read this whole chapter here because it really touches on some things. All right, let's get into it. So Proverb 31 reads, "The saying of King Lemuel, an oracle. His mother taught him, O my son, O son of my womb, O son of my vows, do not spend your strength on women, your vigor on those who ruin kings." So this is an oracle who was taught by his mother about the women. So just as it was done, going all the way back to Hagar and Hathor, who chose the wives for the sons of Ishmael, the tribes of Ishmael, the lost seed, the lost but now found seed tribe of Israel, or Ishmael to be exact, and those 12 sons. The wives were chose by their mothers, or they were blessed by the mothers of the house. Today there's so much divide and conquer, where there is a division between the parent, the next generation to the next. There's a gap. So we know we're dealing with those things, but these principles and positive actions, mannerisms, aphorisms, affirmations still stand to this day. So I'm continue on. It says, "It is not for kings, O Lumiel, not for kings to drink wine, not for rulers to crave beer, lest they drink and forget what the law decreed, and deprive all the oppressed of their right. Give beer to those who are perishing, wine to those who are in anguish. Let them drink and forget their poverty, and remember their misery no more. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the right of the poor and needy. A wife of noble character, who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. Her husband has full confidence in her and lacks nothing of value. She brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hand. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. She gets up while it is still dark. She provides food for her family and portions for her servant girl. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She sets about her work vigorously. Her arms are strong for her task. She sees that her trading is profitable, and her lamp does not go out at night. In her hand she holds the distaff of grass, and grass the spindle with her hand. She opens her arms and the poor, and she opens her she opens her arms to the poor and extends her hand to the needy. When it snows, she has no fear for her household, for all of them are clothed in scarlet. She makes coverings for her bed. She is clothed in fine linen and purple. Her husband is respected at the city gate, where he takes his seat among the elders of the land. She makes linen garments. She makes linen garments and sells them, and supplies the merchant with sashes. She is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and faithful instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Give her the reward she has earned, and let her work bring her praise at the city gate. Today we got city girls. Today we got city girls, y'all. I'm just saying. And there's some aspects in here where we hear today the spells that are engulfing our people's mind. We hear the spells that are engulfing our people. Because if we go into this, modern women today think that women just sit around, as the narrative goes, as far as what's coming out of this woman of female liberation movement based on European psychology. Now we got a lot of women that do say that, you know, our sisters, Moorish sisters, indigenous sisters was involved in that, but evidence shows to the contrary. And the actual movement started by a German psychologist who was a male at that. A homosexual male. So that's a whole nother story. But we have this understanding that today we are to accept anything that comes out of this liberation movement for women based on European psychology for our people. Because that form of psychology is just straight chaos. It's about being chaotic. No divine and natural order. Ma'at, which is symbolic of a woman, Lady Justice. So this is why last week I mentioned you have the two women that's being mentioned in the book of Revelations, because you have the harlot being mentioned in the book of Revelations, and then you have the divine mother, the divine woman who's giving birth to the prophet. She has the jewel, the crown. That's talking about your proverbial woman. So it's saying in the last days you're going to have two types of women that we need to be understanding of. And you're going to have this lifestyle. We got OnlyFans and all these other things now. I'm going to start doing men wrong because he did me wrong. I'm gonna be this way because whatever the reasons are. Are we reading and paying attention? Are we pointing our people to the right instructions, to the right knowledge, wisdom, for the right understanding? Because when one of our movements or parts of our movement deals with controversy, it seems we just want to throw the garb of righteousness to the side and say, well, hey, I'm gonna join the rest of the world in the worldliness. I'm just gonna do what the people of the world do. But you're consecrated and you know you have that calling. It's itching at you, scratching at you to live your life in a life of prosperity, in a life of divinity. Now with so much mixture out here that we think being civilized is doing the mating ritual around the children. We had mating ceremonies, all of that. We had the understanding of what decorum was. Not to say you didn't have people doing these things in the past that are being done today, because nothing is new under the sun. Today, we just have the hyperism and the superfluities at a higher extreme today. So if they're turning up for the ways of the lower self, then that means we got to turn up the volume for the ways, the knowledge, the holy instructions for the higher self. Because as we go through this Proverbs 31, we looking at women that are investors. A proverbial woman that takes positive action, she's an investor. She's a provider to her family. Not just the king, not just the man, not just the husband. She invests in her family, not just with money. It's not just the man working the field, it was her working and planting seeds too. But we look at us as indigenous people who has the concept of we gonna do this together. We always done things together. Whether I'm working on the flax and you working on some linen, we done things together because we didn't have to depend. We didn't have to depend on someone else's society. We had to depend on our own society, our own way of life, our own way of living. The proverbial woman had apprentices. She had servants. She had servants. She had apprentices. So this is why you have so many lonely women, because now you have that apprenticeship. Where's it at? Where's the women that had apprentices? Because marriage today has turned into how we look at it from the Roman perspective. Because during this time, when we talk about proverbial women, there was a lot of polygyny going on, polygyny going on at the time. A lot of that was going on at the time. And if we take it back to these holy instructions, we had instructions for the master and the servant. So women were masters as well. It's telling you right here, Proverbs 31. And this is all throughout the scriptures. But we say that the Bible is only patriotic. When it talks a lot about women in the scriptures, it talks about a lot of other things: murder, rape, killing, demonic worship, war, violence. You find all that in there. But you also find love, truth, peace, freedom, justice also as well. The point is, are we taking the lessons and the instructions and the other things that come with it and learning from it? That's the point. Or are we subduing our crown and getting off our thrones as women and joining the people of worldliness because we want to mix truth and falsehood? Now we are people strangely mixed with truth and falsehood. Falsehood and truth strangely mixed, which leads to more issues that we have in the black community, in the melanated indigenous people's community. Because now we dealing with a lot of single mother homes. We're dealing with people who change the numbers to fit their narratives. Especially when we talk about Europeans and when we let them do the surveying and the the statistics. Today, the opposite is women didn't work. Which women didn't work? Because indigenous women was right there with her man working, but working for themselves. We wasn't working for Johnny and Sally so they can keep their mansion. You was working for yourself. You had your own mansion. You had your own pyramid. The Taj Mahal was built for a woman. You had your own White House. The White House was made for us. Now we have the charm, which is deceptive, and the beauty being the reason for this. Because it's charming to say, well, you know, I can give a man some good. It's charming to say, well, you know, I look this way, I deserve such and such. And it's not based on the wisdom, what she can pour into you. It's not based on the knowledge that she can give you. And not just give you the knowledge, raise you up in the knowledge, raise you up in a skill set that's going to help you and your family. Well, this man don't do this and he don't listen and this, that, and the third. Have you thought about praying for that man? Because you have the connection with the source. You got the connection with the source. If a proverbial woman is worth more than jewels, why do you think we're listening to these words that came from a woman to her oracle and son, to her son, warning him, hey, don't do such and such? Because you have the power in your tongue. This is why they say, you know, a lot of them go with the narrative, be silent in the church. so you can hear and get your crown, because a lot of them don't really read the rest of that passage. They don't really read the rest of that. Because it's saying when a sister wants to learn, she should go and ask her husband. They don't really read the whole verse of that. They only give you the half perspective. They don't really give you the whole breakdown context. They only reading that portion. Because they're talking about messages that are coming out. They don't mention the part about where the woman is crowned. They don't mention that part of the text. This make me wish I had my old Bible. Because old Bible had a lot of marked off. Let's go to it. But they don't go into detail about these things. Because if they read in full context, it would talk about the crowning, which I'm not sure. It should be in the Qur'an too as well. I know that comes from book Qur'an. Well, trying to go to the text, just read it. Here we go. It is. Yeah, so they don't really read full context. Why silence is asked. So let's take it there. Because that's Corinthians 14, where it asks the woman to be silent in the church. No, I'm sorry, Corinthians 6, 1 Corinthians 16. I'm sorry, yeah, this 1 14. That's 14 and 14, chapter 14, verse 34. But if you're not reading through the Corinthians, the book of Corinthians, then you won't really properly understand what is getting at. It also mentions the spiritual gift in the book of Corinthians as well. Because if we coming from this perspective, which is not really off because we know women give birth to men, but here it says, "Be ye followers of me, even as I am also of Christ. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things, and keep the ordinances as I delivered them to you. But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God. Every man praying or prophesying, having his head covered, dishonored his head. But every woman that prayed or prophesied with her head uncovered, dishonored her head. For that is even all, for that is even all one had as, for that is even all one, as if she were shaven. For if the woman be not covered, let her also be shorn. But if it be a shame for a woman to be shorn or shaven, let her be covered. For a man indeed ought not to cover his head, for as much as he is the image and glory of God. But the woman is the glory of the man. For the man is not of the woman, but the woman of the man." It ain't saying who they came from, it's saying of, because we're gonna go into that. "Neither was the man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. For this cause ought the woman have power on her head because of the angel. Nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman. But all things of God. Judging yourselves, is it calmly that a woman pray unto God uncovered? So I'm gonna stop right there because it already said what I was gonna get at. We're not reading in full context because if we're not understanding that yes, men come from women, men are born from women. But if we take it back to where these scriptures come from, and we know they come from the Anunnaki, and there was a ritual that was done to create Adam or Kadmon, where he was given birth, and then they took Adam or Kadmon and created Mother Eve. This goes back to Samaria. That doctrine could take you all the way back to Samaria, the doctrine of the Bible, where we know the Bible is nothing but different parts of the scripture that come from our indigenous people and their histories and their sacred record. So when it's talking about the woman is of the man, they're talking about of Adam, of Kadmon, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. So it says she shall have the power, in some translations, it's saying a crown of authority. She shall have a crown of authority. So our clan mothers, our divine mothers, these women are there because if we go further on into the book of Corinthians where we left off, it's saying that when somebody comes in prophesizing or telling this is what it is from the scriptures, this is what the gods and the goddesses is saying from on high, then you gotta have somebody in there to do the interpretation and say, hey, this man is of Christ, this man is of the divine, this man is of the anointedness, because that's all Christ means, of being of the anointing, not how the Bible thumpers define these things, but us that really know the mystery. So I went into scriptures a lot here tonight as far as the Bible. Let's get into some of the Qur'an here. And last week we read chapter 2, Kalam, El Kalam. But I wanted to touch on this tonight because this is what is keeping our people confused, because they don't go into full context. When you read together, you succeed together. So this is why we actually get into the text together, and it's not just me here parakeeting. And you all can interject at any time if you have, especially if you have questions. If there's questions in the chat, please let me know, because I'm not looking at the chat when I'm doing the sermon. But I want to make sure I deliver the message. That's I see you laughing over that shot there. But that was like 30 minutes ago. I don't know what I said, but I see you over there. Now, getting into Hell's Holy Quran, we left off at chapter 3, called Al Muzammil, meaning the wrapped one. And this was originally the 3rd chapter. They changed it to the 73rd chapter. So we're gonna read this here for the night, and let's see what aligns for us here in this particular read. Begin our prayers and thinking by using the name of the source, Allah, the Rahman, who is the most merciful. The commentary says, O one who is wrapped up, you are to raise up for a little in the shadow hour period. Ahmad, you can add to it or recite the Qur'an. Nusku and the other Elohims will deliver heavy speeches to Muhammad. Getting up in the shadow hour to worship. Make one firmer. The daylight hour is longer to glorify. Muhammad is told to devote himself entirely to his Rabb. No Allahs would exist except by way of him. Muhammad is told to avoid Mecca. And it reads, O you Muhammad who is al-Muzammil, one wrapped in a mantle, raise up a little way into the shadow hour at night, not quite half way into it, just Khalil, a little of it. Or you, Ahmad, may add to it your choice. And Ratil, recite the Quran with a system, yet well presented in a regulated tone. Surely we, Elohim Anunnaki and Nusku Gabriy'El, will deliver unto you, Muhammad, called Takil, heavy speeches. Surely Na'ashiat, getting up at the Layl, shadow hour period, makes one's ashad more forceful and stronger. It is a more perfect time for recitation. Ina, surely for you, Ahmad, in al-Nahar, the daylight hours is a longer time to Tabhan, glorify, but you work. And remember the Asm, name of your Muhammad, sustainer, who is Rabb, and devote yourself to him with your whole self and complete life. He is the Rabb of al-Mashariq, the east, and al-Maghrib, the west, for every part of the world, sustainer of things on the planet. Nothing would exist if he didn't create it. So take him as your wakil, advocate. And Muhammad, be patient. Don't retaliate about what they are saying about you. And avoid them, the desert Arab, the Meccans, with Jamilan, nice, Hajar, avoid it. This is best for you now. So the next section of commentary says, Muhammad is told, let Allah deal with the liar. They will have Ankal and Shahim as a pain, and food which will get stuck in their throat. On that day, Kui, or earth, and the mountains will shake. Anunnaki sent their Rasul as a watcher. Ramesses II disobeyed Moshe. How will you protect yourself? The sky will moonfatir. Let him who wills take his rod path. Let me deal with the liar. Those who really know the facts, who have the grace, so-called wealthy Muslims, and give them mal, respite for a little while. Surely we, Elohim Anunnaki, have a firm judgment on Ka'al, shackles, and Jahim, a blazing hellfire, and bitter ta'am, food, which will get stuck in the throat, and an aching pain. On that day, Al-Ard, planet Kui, Tiamat, Earth, and the Jabal mountains will shake, and the mountains will become like Katib, heaps of sand vastly spread out. Surely we, Elohim Anunnaki, have sent to you all one sent, who is Ahmad, also known as Muhammad, as a Shaheed, watcher over you, as we, Elohim Anunnaki, sent our Rasul to Pharaoh Ramesses II. So Pharaoh Ramesses II disobeyed the one sent, Moshe, or Moses. So we, Elohim Anunnaki, overtook him, Pharaoh Ramesses II, with a violent wabil, calamity, or plague. So how then will you guard, protect yourself, if you conceal the facts about the day which will make even the newborn hair turn Sheik, gray, out of fear? Al-Sama'a, the sky, will moonfatir, split by it that day, so that his promise will be Mafu, fulfilled. Surely this is a tahikra, reminder. So let him who wills take his path, take his rod, sustainers path. Muhammad, Rab, this is the next piece of commentary for the chapter. It reads, Muhammad's Rab knows he gets up at least 2/3 of the shadow hour period. He knows that you cannot measure how much you sleep. He pardons you. So read from what is easy for you from the Qur'an. Others will be seeking bounties in the planet Earth. Others will be fighting to kill in Allah's path. There's a supreme reward for those who give a loan for the source and still seek forgiveness from Allah. Surely your Muhammad's sustainer, who is Ra, Master Nusku, or Gabriy'El, knows that you get up to worship at least tulati, 2/3 of the shadow hour period, sleep, or even half of 1/3, or even half or 1/3 of it. The shadow hour period, and a group of those who are with you, your followers, and the source. Allah measures the shadow hour period and the day. He knows that you cannot measure how much you sleep in the shadow hour period. So he turns to you with repentance or pardon. So Akra, read what is easy of the Quran. He already knows that from you all will be some who are martyr, sick, and that others will be striking, riding forth to fight in the planet Qui, Earth, also called Al-Ard, seeking bounties to support themselves of Allah, and others will be fighting to kill in the path of the sword, Allah, in his military. So he is to read of the Quran at the shadow hour period, what is Tayassara, easy from it, and get up for salat or salutation of worship, and give zakat, charity, and consider the money loaned to you. The faithful give to the sword, Allah as a Quran, loan, and something good, and whatever you give now goes before you for yourself, and it is khair, good. You will find in the possession of Allah, it is good and will bring you a azam, ajran, supreme reward, and still seek forgiveness from the source, Allah, for surely Allah is Gafura, forgiving, Rahim, most merciful. Surah Alahu El Azim. So that's the end of chapter 3. But the main thing that stuck out is same thing we read in Proverbs. The woman gets up at night and goes and handles business for her family, which could include she gets up and prays. So this is why that tradition is there, because not only was this told to Muhammad, but this is something that they call Lele Qadri, the power, the night of power, that people did. Even going back to the proverbial woman, she got up at night and did work for her family, which included prayers and planting seed. So while most of the family is probably sleeping, that proverbial woman is up praying. She up getting it in. So Muhammad is told to get your butt up and read portion of the Quran and pray at night, because this adds to your power, because you're up in the middle of the night, what they call now in modern day times the witching hour. But for us, it's a divine hour to tap into the source, same as the day, as we do here, 6 o'clock. We come together during this time where the mental reservoir is open up for us to channel, to communicate with ancestors and do the divine work. especially when we're talking about times and period time. So as we've been going through these scriptures, it really makes it clear on some of these issues that we're having, especially as a people, where there's a lot of backbiting. As it says, I came to my own received me not. Are we praying for our mate? Are we loving for our mate? In this day and time, we have to learn to care. There's so many things that have a hold of our attention. These phones, computers, the world. We don't want to do the laborer's work that come with taking care of a household. That goes for men and women in modern day time. Everything is more convenient, easily accessed. It's harder to search for a wife when they're not being raised to be wives. So you're going to lose a lot of men who are not truth seekers, who are not looking for women of truth, who are not searching and doing the alchemy, because alchemy deals with metallurgy. Who's not seeking the diamond and the pearl. That ruby, she's more precious than rubies. Her wisdom is worth more than diamonds, gold, and these jewels. She has that power of authority, representing the power of the angel. This was not some form of oppression. Today is not a form of oppression. So when you see a woman with chaste, a chaste woman, that's not coming from a form of oppression. That's a woman who talks to the divine, who knows that these proverbs is just not based on religious fanatics and how they deliver the messages with their pastor pork chops and things like that. And we also have these sacred art. We have the things that were taught to our women by those of the fallen, by those disagreeable forces of nature. So now you have, our women being raised to see what it is that they can get out of a man and not what they add to the being of a man, which is not just his flesh. It's not just his flesh. It's his whole aura, his whole being. A man is supposed to marry the spirit. His spirit marries the soul. They become one. Now he can go and marry that woman and find that right woman But today's household has some other things going on in it. We don't have men getting in tune with the divine first, completing that marriage with soul and spirit first. Because we're not taught through discipline from the divine, and even with the Kama Sutra, the book of Kama, the Sutra of Kama, that still comes from the original scriptures. Portions have been expanded to explain a lot of things sexually, but the disciplinary part of it comes out of the scriptures. Just like your Book of Satan and your Luciferian Bible. They took do it thy will and cut the verses. So they're not no different than your Pastor Pork Chop. They might as well be Pastor Pork Chop while they hating on Pastor Pork Chop. And they do their rituals of sacrificing Jesus in the satanic temples or the Luciferian temples, whatever they got going on, and the different, different perspectives of it. It's all based on the comedy, the comedy that comes out of the Catholic faith, based on Lucifer. And the disciplines of Tantra, like I say, which goes back all the way to even with Imhotep, Hathor, etc. We had our ancient cultures. You had the women who were taught and raised by Hathor, the disciplines of being in the household. Even Mother Eve had great seducing power naturally. But when it comes to this book of Kama, these verses of Kama or Kama Sutra, which we know was drafted by the disagreeables, the following. Because texts like that, which are not necessarily just, all the way bad text, but it's text like that, especially coming from the times that led us being more encapsulated by the flesh, more encapsulated by our physical body, being more caught up into the body, the ka, and not the ka, the spirit that drives the body, the essence behind the body. Because like I said, those disciplines were already there. The type of beings and the the breakdowns of who we are as a people, from the bull, the eagle, the man, the lion. We came up with these sciences from out of ancient Egypt. They were already there, especially with all the ancient sacred texts that were burned. That was already there. You already had papyrus Tarum, because it's not as if there wasn't any teachings on exotics, love making, etc., especially coming out of ancient Egypt. So you had that turn into, like I said, what they call the Kama Sutra. But the principle is, we wasn't wrapped up in our physical bodies. We were more concerned about our spirit. And today we're more caught up in materialism than anything else. Not the simplicities of life, which is simple. We're more caught up in the next toy that we can have. Relationships today, number one issue is money, finance, materialism. Everything to do with materialism. Even the feelings, because the feelings come from your body, not based on the divine mind, the divine principle of things. Majority of the divorces are coming from being initiated by the women, because the marriage system is based on the women. The culture is based on the women. We as a people, we had a genocracy. So if you want to keep up racial divide and conquer the spell of Leviathan, you go and attack the woman. These are the laws of Athena, Athens, who wanted the Aphrodite, who wanted the Cleopatra. So what other way to keep indigenous people oppressed than to attack the woman? If we go back to the scriptures, the serpent beguiled the woman, the lower serpent, not the Haji, not the Uraeus, the Typhoon, the Apep, the Apophis, attacked the woman. That was hate. The serpent hate the woman. That lower vibration cannot stand the divine woman, the woman that's in touch with her proverbial self. So we have the choices to whether we're going to raise up a nation, and we can only go no further than where our women is at. You still have a lot of women in the church. There's more women in the church than there is men. But that's solely because it's an invisible man they worshiping. And we know that. A lot of women's husband is Jesus. We know that. When the Jesus that they need is out here being persecuted for namesake. Out here being lost in the wilderness because they're not being taught. They're not given the fundamental wisdom, because it's not just being in your womb or suckling at the breast. It's also what's being poured into our young brothers, our young men after the fact. to not get caught up by the enticements of the world, the lower frequencies of the feminine energy that is not coming from the divine part of nature. That's not coming from the ethereal higher frequencies of nature. Today's feminist movement wants you to act like that doesn't exist. That patriarchy was all bad. We didn't just have a matriarchy or a patriarchy. We had a patriarchy, which is a parent chaperone society, chaperoned by the parents, the leaders of our community who act as parents. The same scripture we just read from Corinthians, to not be childless in the mind. This is why, to be childish in the mind, I'm sorry, or in our understanding. So even when we just read the verse from the Qur'an, same thing. Muhammad don't be out there with the people who are childish in their understanding, who run around here thinking you're possessed by a jinn, etc. If you want to become stronger in your connection to the nous, to the forces of positive nature, to the noon, to the true light, then get up and read. Get up and read the true light. Get up and read the lights. The Qur'an, the Torah, the Injiyl. These are the lights in the Qur'an. The Haram was a sacred house. That's what the word means. Haram, sacred house. Now it's a whole nother meaning, because we had the desert Arab that came in and changed the meaning to haram to mean something bad, and perverted it. Because if you go back and look, all of the patriots of our people, this is the world we came from. We came from a polygynous world. Today, we don't understand that multiple fleshes still become that one flesh. You are to become one flesh. We lost on this. We so caught up in this tradition should be practiced, that tradition should be practiced, when the fundamental sciences of nature is there still. Regardless, we run around ignoring the fundamental sciences of nature. It's Luciferian when we change man, the nature of a man, into the nature of a woman, and the nature of a woman into the nature of a man. That becomes draconian. That's what reptiles do. Especially people that are stuck in that reptilian circuit of the mind. And if they can keep you stuck in that circuitry part of your brain, then we're going to continue to see the extremities. It's going to get worse before it get better. We concerned about going 50-50. We should be going 100-100. 100-100. Them vows say till death do you part. Not till he broke and he can't afford to pay the bills no more. Or he can't afford to let me sit on my butt no more. He wouldn't be having to pay all the bills if both of y'all wasn't investing. And we was investing in things of commodity, commerce, our knowledge, our education. You will be leaving a legacy, an estate, especially in a state based off the divine covenant. Because today, what we have is the total opposite in perspective. Today, what we have is the conversation of gimme, 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 gimme. And we all know gimme got his neck broke. Right? So I wanted to bring that home today, because this is the things that keep us divided It's a part of that. It's a part of the divide. It's a part of the Hegelian dialectic that continues on today. It's a part of the noise of Babel that we as a people have today. And we have to sift through the noise, that noise that is a very high and loud roaring lion. But as the prophet says in some of the literature, if we raise up as a people, as we raise up as Moors, then the lion and the lamb can lay down in yonder hill. But until then, until we raise up as a people, get back in tune with our frequencies, then things will change. We more worried about who get the plate first, the children or the man. It don't matter who get the plate first. Sometimes the man might get the plate first. Sometimes the children might get the plate first. Be too worried about petty things that have no contribution to us living a better life, being in tune with ourselves, knowing who we are, being your authentic self. Because as much as you got your haters and other people watching you, those are not who you want to impress. We're here to gain the honor of those on high, to gain that alignment, that true alignment with the divine, to be in tune and locked in with the divine. They didn't like Jesus when he started telling the truth. So this is why we're going in that direction tonight. You know, even Joshua had to call call a woman a viper and a dog or two. You know, it's in the scriptures. Today, our women call men dog, or at this point, nothing ass niggas. Excuse my friend. We belittle ourselves so bad that picking ourselves up. The same picker upper that you would need when you down is the same context that brothers and sisters, especially the brothers who lead, need. Why is it that men from our communities that are in the faith, who learns the sciences behind a lot of these things, and not just caught up in a trance with Pastor Pork Chop in them, are the ones that suffer the most? Suffer from the lack of knowledge, the inconsistency, the insufficiency of knowledge, especially with economic. Especially with economic. But you wouldn't have that if things wasn't made to be put on one part of the relationship. Give me a second, child. Yeah, y'all give me a second. We can get to these holy instructions, but y'all reflect on that for a second. Give me a second real quick. True peace. True peace. Yeah, so hope that give y'all some time to reflect. These are the things that we're dealing with in this day and time. And I'm sure it's much more that hasn't really got touched on, but this is just the fundamental principles and things that we're dealing with and things that we need to keep a dikra or reminder of within ourselves. So when we come across these things, especially with social media and, as I say, the more the materialistic lifestyle that's flaunted in our face with the social media world and just everything being about imagery and flashiness versus living a comfortable lifestyle, enjoying life, living a meek and humble life, and having a family that reads together, succeed together, pray together, to stay together. So as we understand what it means to be righteous and proverbial and in divine alignment, and those synchronicities happen for you with that. So I'm gonna get into these holy instructions for the night because I don't want to keep us here like I did the other night. We was here at least 5 hours, y'all. We was into the thick of it. So let's jump into these holy instructions tonight. Change the link at the top of the room. Reset the room. Welcome to World Temple Branch Temple number 24 of the Moorish Temple of America. We are a globally chartered branch temple of the Moorish Temple of America. We're teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed. For those of you that need a temple home, you can join us. Feel free to join us, especially if you don't have a temple to call home. And with that, y'all, we're going to jump into these holy instructions for tonight. Right, y'all. So a lot of things we went over tonight is really the fundamentals. The fundamentals of fundamentals for us having community, for us having a nation. Because like I say, it's only so far we can go. Yeah, Brother Jonathan, these are on YouTube now. So this will be put on YouTube here after we finish. As I was saying, we only go so far as our women go. So all things that we're dealing with that are opposite, that comes from that lower self, the lower vibrational feminine energy versus the higher self and the divine feminine, the proverbial woman, or what they call the harlot, the woman of Leviathan, the prostitution, the pornography, etc. This is basically all we see today, and it's running rampant. And like I say, if they're turning up, then it's time for us as those in divine alignment with the higher self. Time for you to turn it up. Time for you to turn up. Because today is being made to seem as if that's something to celebrate. That lifestyle is something to be proud of. When actually it's destroying our people, our community, and people are being revered for it. And these are the same cultures and ways of life that people ran from to be involved with civilized people. These are the people that are still a little more too. This is why I say European psychology, because these are the ways of the barbaric, the perversion that they did in the ancient times are being implemented today in modern times. And of course, just like they did then, they're going to put on the face of your ancestors. And today, you're going to have an Elvis for a muddy waters. So this is why it's best to preserve this sacred wisdom, this sacred knowledge for yourself, especially the wisdom that we get from our mothers, and surround our community with that vibration. So let's jump into these holy instructions we do here every week. And these instructions help you, stay out of the way of the superior party creditor mentality, the sovereign citizen mentality, and or the patriotism that's being spread amongst our people like wildfire, and really are losing connection with fundamental reality, the fundamentals of life, helping each other as a community, and really understanding what having a community is based on, how you develop a community, especially a community that's living in divine alignment. So we went into tonight our civics, which is our study of theoretic politics and the practical aspects of our citizenship, or being commoners of our own community. It is the study of civil law. So we touched on a little of that, the civil code that comes from us and our ancient and divine creed, especially tonight pertaining to women. We touched on the study of government, as I was mentioning, the genocracy, and the way that we had our structure based on the matriarch way of life, governance system. So that also included our customs and the cultivation of our customs, as well as engagement and how we engage with each other. This is why I touched on the Tantra and the Kama Sutra, the book of Kama Sutra, and some of those other texts that I mentioned earlier as well. So, as y'all know, Friday is the holy day. Oh, you who know, when the call is proclaimed to supplication on Friday, the day of assembly, hasten earnestly to the remembrance of the Heavenly Father and Divine Mother, and leave off business and traffic that is best for you if you but knew. And when prayer is finished, then may ye disperse through the land and seek the bounty of God, and pray and celebrate the praises of God of sin and without stint, that ye may prosper. All temple services and meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 love and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God of love. For that cause, Friday is our holy day for all Muslims and peacemakers all over the world. This is according to Act 2 of the Divine Constitution and Bylaws by the Prophet Noble Joe Ali, which state all temples and subordinate temples are to conduct holy day service every Friday, starting promptly at their respective time and ending promptly at their respective time. All civilians, patrons, denizens, prospects, and ministers are expected to attend the temple for the holy day temple service and meeting. On Fridays, the Moorish American, Moorish Asian, and Moorish African, Muslims, and peacemakers all come together to supplicate and to illustrate that which Allah has blessed them with. The temple services are open according to divine love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. At no time will templars, adepts, ministers, patrons, or outside congregational guests be allowed to disrupt the holy day service, nor will civilians be admitted under the influence of alcohol or any severe intoxicant. All templars, adepts, and civilians attending the holy day service must have their heads covered with either a turban fez, or kufi, or spiritual cover. Baseball caps should not be worn in the temple. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is mandatory, and all Moorish nationals, templars, and temple denizens must promptly attend the temple service and send their children to the Sunday school gathering, and the teacher must conform himself and herself to the temple 101 questionnaire, and let every civilian man, woman, and child exercise his or her five senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation, and now the entire global village. According to Act 5 of the additional bylaws by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, every subordinate temple should have 2 Sunday school gatherings held. The first meeting should be held 1 to 2 hours before the adult service. Children's Sunday school should be conducted by a director of the Children's Sunday school and program. The Sunday school gathering is designed to assist the temple in learning the Temple 101 questionnaire and developing an understanding of just what these holy keys mean and how they are to be applied to our everyday lives. The divine constitution and bylaws with the Moorish prayer, the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, El's holy Injiyl, El's holy Qur'aan, and the civics lessons of the Holy Temple of Moorish Science are also subjects of major concern for the apprentice who is trying to complete his or her mandatory requirements for pronouncing their temple civilianship and global nationality. All lessons for the adult Sunday school gathering must be prepared by a grand sheik, a divine minister, or an assistant grand sheik. Lessons called by us novites additions may be submitted to the apprentice for completion and returned to the temple. Once the lessons are completed and graded, they must be placed in the active members temple district file. The Sunday school temple service and meeting is a wonderful opportunity to study the liturgy teachings of the prophet. No civilian is to become disruptive during the Sunday meeting. All templars must bring paper and pen to the temple service and meeting along with the temple basic literature and assignment. No templars or patrons to eat food or other snacks during the temple service or meeting, but water is permitted. All templars must attend their Sunday temple service as diligently as they attend their holy day temple service. Both were called out for by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali and is required as a matter of temple law. According to the Divine Constitution, Act 7, in part, all templars must promptly attend their temple services and meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and now also Moorish Science Temple of Africa and Moorish Science Temple of Asia, and adjoining world islands on behalf of all indigenous people. For membership, any heads of temple of all temple jurisdictions are not to charge for naturalization or to overcharge for cards, buttons, or anything issued by and through the Prophet. Those who contribute to any of the proceedings are not Moors, civilians, or patrons, but robbers. Temple nationality and membership in the Holy Temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust, sisters and brothers, kin and kinfolk, is free, not only here but all over the world. All kin and kinfolk desiring to become a civilian of a subordinate temple must read the message from the temple secretary and acquire the application for naturalization, which can be found on our temple website. I had pinned to the link that I had pinned to the room earlier, holytemples.org. The Secretary of the Temple's jurisdiction will help all newcomers by explaining the naturalization affidavit and application for membership in the Temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust. To the new prospective civilian of the Temple's vast estate or public beneficiary trust, and arranging for him or her to be consulted by the Royal Council of said temple or subordinate temple. The Royal Chairman or woman will set the date for the new temple prospect to be interviewed by the Royal Council. The new temple court civilian, upon completion of the Royal Council's consultation at the newcomers' gathering or Sunday school gathering on Sunday, the new templars will proclaim their temple nationality at the next upcoming Holy Day temple gathering. After the new civilian prospect proclaims his or her nationality, they will be given the mandatory requirements necessary to earn their free national name and royal title of nobility as a true American royal. These requirements are as follows, and in accordance with Chapter 47 of the Moorish Circle 7 Holy Quran, called Egypt the capital dominion of the Empire of Africa. The Moorish Prayer, Chapter 25 of the Moorish Quran, called the Holy Covenant of the Asiatic Nation, including the 101 Temple question for Moorish Americans, Asians, and Africans. The Divine Constitution and bylaws, the additional laws, and the precepts, statutes, and ordinances from El's Holy Torah, El's Holy Injiyl, El's Holy Quran, the Holy Tabernacle Family Guide, and also the Holy Tablet through our Civics 101 course in the Global Interdependent School District and Sacred Halls of Learning called New University for every one of the global village. Once a new civilian or template has learned these additions or lessons verbatim or to the best of their ability, he or she will be interviewed by the Temple's Royal Council as the chaplaincy to determine if the new civilian is required to represent himself or herself as a faithful Moorish American, Moorish African, a Moorish Asian Muslim, or any indigenous peacemaker, and communicate it to the ignorant for their instruction, and communicate it to the wise for thine own improvement. Once the new civilian or template has cleared the mandatory requirements with the Royal Council, he or she will be naturalized by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister of said subordinate temple. So those are your holy instructions for joining the Moorish Temple of America, plain and simple, without all the extremities. I was in a live YouTube video chat the other day, and it was being stated, why does the brother have to do some paperwork to prove that he's a Moor? And this is how we know our people are not getting the proper instructions on whether it's enrolling in a tribe, doing a powwow, or how any ceremony is conducted to bring people in. And mentioning a lot of gang banging and things like that in his message and kind of gratifying them, but even the gangs have ceremonies that they do to bring you in to initiate you in the gang. And they get that from the indigenous genes in them, because we are a spiritual body people. We are indigenous people. The tradition, the customs are in us. Now, whether we're doing that custom for righteous name's sake or for transgressions of nature, you're still going through some form of initiation. Now, whether you have that self-realization, which door you have walked through, whether it's the door of righteousness or the door of sin, that is for that person later on to really wake up and smell the coffee bean. But just as anything else, you're here to be reborn again. You're born more. Yes, the brother is already a Moor, but how do you know that you are ready for the decorum of being a Moor, having Moorish honors? Having the title of a Moor is to distinguish yourself as black nobility. Hence the word black or Moor. You're tying yourself into the nobility of the planet. It was a title of honor, because we're all out of the Nukfa. We all come from the black germ. We all come from the Nukfa, the black dot, the black seed. Doesn't matter. That's even in the Qur'aan. And all of the racist actions that you deal with from the Orthodox Muslims, you still have it right there in the Quran that we all come from the black seed, the black germ. So it's wild that we still deal with racism, but we have that prejudice even against ourselves. We have that racism even against ourselves. This is why I talked about this last week. But nonetheless, let's jump into the Holy Shahada, which is our proclamation of nationality and pronunciating one's nationality, which will be held on Holy Day, for all civilians, denizens, templars, peacemakers, or Muslims all over the world. And during this ceremony, the new civilian or templars will be ordained in El Bay or Day and given his or her royal peerage title of King, Honorable, Lady, Noble, Nin, Naya, Prince, Princess by a Grand Sheik or Divine Minister, and also receive his or her nationality card and button from the Divine Minister of the Grand Major Temple. Upon conclusion of the nationality proclamation, the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister will have the civilian, template, and temple prospect stand while he or she reads the authority of the Moorish Temple of America. It is by virtue of the Religious Corporation Act document that can be found in Heard's revised statutes that gives the Moorish Temple of America, Asia, and Africa the authority to restore the nationality and birthrights of the lost Asiatics of America, Asia, Africa, and all world islands, their heritage. The Grand Sheik and or Divine Minister is to read from the card and have the new national state, Allah is God, and Noble Joy leader prophet, and I am Moorish, American, African, or Asian, and or world island. This is our Moorish clarification of faith, or Shahada, and our national pledge of allegiance. The new civilian or template's free national name should then be added to the temple's book of life as they enroll in the Civics 101 course. And we have also a complimentary World Civics Club. The nationality ceremony should be conducted by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister or any other Divine Minister so designated by the Grand Sheik and Divine Minister in his or her time of absence, and most notably by the Assistant Grand Sheik and Divine Minister. The nationality card and naturalization application must be signed bearing the name and title of the Grand Sheik or Divine Minister who issued the application and card, and the date of its issuance. The Religious Corporation Act has deemed the Global Interdependent School District and the incorporated and chartered Moorish Science Temple of America, Africa, and Asia as a religious trust and theocratic government, established in 1928 on August 20th. This religious trust is the true global trusteeship system for the Holy Family of Nations, forming the global nucleus. True peace. So, this is why I say simple and plain. We have our own structure on how we do things. You have your royal ceremony. You are a royal people. We know we are the temple. That's 1 Corinthians 3:16. But if that's the case, that means we are nobility. You're tying yourself into that lineage of nobility, the land of the blacks, those Moors, the land of the Moors. And it doesn't matter from which geography, which placement in time you want to mention it. We are those people that are of the royal theocracy. This is why today it's important to understand that structure that is in place, especially if you're studying sovereignty, especially if you're studying law. This is why it's important. So simple and plain, these are the holy instructions that we just went over. Simple and plain. So it's not all the paperwork. It's more of your shahada, your baptismal, your powwow that you go through when you join, enroll, and you show that you're seeking first the kingdom first. or you can be subjugated to the things that you want to be subjugated. We're all subject, whether you're giving your politicians and the state the authority, or you're giving God, the divine creator, Subhanahu wa ta'ala, the source, the authority. Either or. But secularism don't align with the the unalienable or unalienable rights that come from the divine. You have to fight for those rights. You have to fight for those things. So as we go through our studies, these are one of the things that we want to remember, take into recollection, especially with some of the things that have happened to our people, our prisoners of war, and ways to go about helping them and our people. So with that, y'all, get into some literature from the prophet, because we need to go over that. Well, I want to tie this back into what we discussed today here with our families, our marriage, because, like I said from the jump, prophet gave us instructions on marriage, but like we noticed, the focus was put on the women, the feminine part of the energy, that divine mother. So I think the prophet also had literature in here as well about marriage, which does. So I'm gonna read that part. Let me go to it. Give me a second. Right there. So the prophet said all marriage ceremonies of members of the Moorish Science Temple of America must be performed by an ordained minister and the head of the temple. And any man desiring to take unto himself a wife and receive our Moorish right, he must go to the city hall and receive his license to be registered in that city, county, and state. It then must be turned over in the hands of the aforesaid ordained minister and head of a temple after it has been properly signed by city officials. The price thereby for search, the price thereby for such administering to man and wife will be $5. For all those who have their papers and desire our Moorish marriage ceremony, it is $3. We Moors cannot marry no one, but we obligate you according to our divine laws and covenant and the laws of the land. This must be proclaimed and made known to every temple so that there will be no misunderstanding. There will be no misunderstanding about I, the prophet, and my teachings, because Allah alone binds two hearts together as a unit. These are the marriage obligations and instructions for man and wife. Chapter 22 from our Qur'an is to be read first to the husband, and chapter 21 is to be read secondly to the wife. These are the instructions of marriage from our holy Qur'an. Please obey the law as given you by your prophet through your governor, Prophet Noble Joe Ali. So the prophet is saying, take your butt down to City Hall, to your local county, and get your marriage license. Go down to City Hall, get your marriage license. And then turn that into the ordained minister, the Grand Sheik, or Adab of the temple, or divine minister, or assistant Grand Sheik, so they can marry you. and participate in our Moorish ceremony. Also, you can do a publication in a newspaper. It's also another way to do it. Because things have changed now with putting yourself under the state subjugation. You can also do it through common law marriage. And how it's done in an orthodox manner, or in a, let's say, original manner, is you will go through marriage counseling with the Grand Sheik or the Imam. Because the Grand Sheik or the Imam or the chief of the tribe or the leader in the tribe is gonna make sure that you're doing this in righteous namesake and y'all not just shacking up and doing it for whatever other secular or ill reason, ill intent. This is so we can build strong communities. Strong families build strong communities. Strong communities build strong clans and nations. It doesn't take guns to build a nation, to keep a nation. Because what were we doing before there were guns? How was nations being built and how was empires being built before there were even guns around? We are a peaceful people. We're not worried about the secular people of the world. It may sound cool. It may be a lot of so-called freedom there. But when you're tapped into the divine and the higher frequencies, you have that power. And with that power, that comes great responsibility. Free will exists is when you're doing the right thing. You're not out here harming and committing malice against people. Malicious acts, violence, etc. That's when you can take hold of free will. Truly. So with that, that's gonna be the last time I jump on this whole marriage thing, y'all, for the night. And I'm not here to be a social media influencer with with giving advice and how these people do. So that's my little disclaimer. Because a lot of these things that people teach you and talk about and give advice for, or marriage coaching and counseling for online, it's also what's leading to the craziness. And if you need to sit down with somebody, especially elders, you want to have elders that's been married for a long time, that are happy in their marriage, people who have succeeded in their marriage. A marriage meaning they have went through the struggles. They went through the process of what it means to stay committed. Our youngsters talking about struggle love, and our people out here talking about struggle love. Ain't nothing done easy. Having a life of luxury got nothing to do with the long suffering that comes to maintaining a relationship, maintaining anything. So with that, y'all, let's jump into the mandatory literature from the prophet. If the prophet want to read, also well other messages. So I'm gonna read this from the prophet to the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam. These are instructions from the prophet Noble Ali. The prophet says, "Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deed that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on. But the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I Noble Ali. And that's why many hearts have been turned to stone, and many eyes to see, but cannot see. ears to hear, but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they're trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very Lord, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principle of your temple. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. True peace, your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. So that is a message from the prophet to the members. But for those that don't have a temple home and they're just Moors that really got caught up in the paperwork thing and don't really understand the simplicity of getting involved with the Moorish Science Temple of America, which is showing your butt up to the temple like you're supposed to. Come here on holy day, attend the newcomers gathering, enroll in the course, start to get into the civics lessons, do your assignments, and then show back up here that next Friday and do your ceremony. Simple. You can find the Divine Minister Kenny L in the membership in the members tab here on Clubhouse. Just scroll down, send him a message, find his Instagram, send him a message, let him know the Grand Sheik Dr. Lawiy sent you, and he'll be happy to service you. If you need your nationality card or buttons or anything else, while we get that together here, because I'm still working on the World Library section of the temple website. But this message is for you all because the prophet speaks to the nations. And this piece of literature that I'm about to read next, this is a message from the prophet to the nation. So it doesn't matter if you're indigenous, don't matter if you Hebrew, don't matter if you Israelite, don't matter if you Midianite, don't matter if you Shemite, Japhethite, etc. None of that matters. The prophet is speaking to all the nations, especially in this day and time, who are concerned with what's called and classified as the Negro problem. So the prophet didn't have a problem with the word. These words were being used for us in a derogatory way as terms that are used by the oppressor in a form of slavery, in a form of slavery, in a form of oppressing us. Because technically these words describe us. It doesn't matter in which way, whether it was a derogatory description, these words still described us and it had to do with our ethnicity. Simple, plain. The prophet had no issues with these terms because, or else the prophet wouldn't have used them in his lineage, in his verbiage at all. Islam, the prophet say, if you have race pride and love your race, join the Moorish Science Temple of America and become a part of this divine and national movement. Then become a part of this divine movement, Then you will have power to redeem your race because you know who you are and your forefathers were. Because there is unity, because where there is unity, there is strength. Together we stand, divided we fall. Come, good people, because I, the prophet, sent to redeem this nation from mental slavery, which you have now, need every one of you who think that your condition can be better. This is an open field to strong men and women to uplift the nation and take your place in the affairs of men. If the Europeans and other nations are helping me, why not you? It is your problem. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. If you have a nation, you must have a free national name in order to be recognized by this nation as an American citizen. This is what was meant when it says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added unto you by the prophet. So if you don't have a temple home and you're a Moor, you need a temple home. You have the invite coming from branch temple number 24. We are a global branch temple of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are a chartered and incorporated branch of the Moorish Science Temple of America. We are part of the Unity branch of the movement in the Moorish Science Temple of America. We have the authority to have a virtual temple to where people could join us. We have the online school system, not just school system. So we can be setting up Moorish elementaries, Moorish middle schools, Moorish colleges, whatever else we want to set up for us as a people. So come get involved. come get involved, you have the opportunity to build for yourself as a people. So with that, let's get into our mandatory message from the prophet. Close it on out for the night, y'all. I'm gonna change the link at the top of the room one last time. So for those that would like to join the royal patronage and the royal audience can do so. For those that will be listening from YouTube, you can just click the link. It'll be in the YouTube description link. So you can click on that link there. And the replays will also be on YouTube so you can listen in and join us. Change the link quick. Close it. Okay, so let's jump right into it. So this is a divine warning coming from the prophet that's to be read every temple service. The prophet wants us to read this in every temple meeting we have. The prophet say, I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the street. We're for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your card at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deed. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. True peace, Noble Drew Ali. All right, y'all. So, gonna get into this last message from the prophet. Last message from the prophet. Call it night. Take us home. Moorish prayer. Islam. The prophet says, I'm glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There's a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side, of the nation that claimed that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me, so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without me, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my work, which I have performed in the past 2 years. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Islam. So, just want to touch on this one thing before we head out tonight. Prayer here. The prophet was letting it be known that people inside the Moorish movement thought it was a joke, thought it was a game. You still got people who treat the theocratic government of the Moorish Temple of America as a joke, and not as if we are a government body of people, and still yet to this day put together things that could stand for the whole movement. One temple, one prophet. One grand major temple is all of the temples in one. We should be able to answer these questions by just the fundamental teachings of the prophet. All of the issues that we have as a people, unnecessary, uncalled for, all the different, splinter groups that we have, unnecessary, uncalled for. Because it's the temple that's being acknowledged as the sovereign theocratic government and what the prophet Enuma Elish set up. One temple, one prophet. Simple, plain. HR 0689. We put it in prior chats on Holy Day, and some of the replays you have to go back and listen to and get the link so you can check out the actual resolution coming from Illinois, which is where Chicago is at. You will see that we have been acknowledged as a sovereign theocratic body politic, sovereign theocratic government. So if we are a government body, and this has been known not just recently but going all the way back, because why would the prophet even get the acknowledgments not even 100 years later? Not even 100 years later. So the prophet knew what he was talking about, and what he's talking about was reality. It was real. You find evidence of this in DC, Chicago, and Chicago, Cook County, where the prophet resided, and much more. Even the Moors of the Confederate Nation, which was just an extension of what we had as the Iroquois. But all of the infighting, all of the fear, the racism against each other, the internal fighting is what caused the divide and conquer, which caused for us to be taken over by what's called the right of conquest. So this is why we have to be truthful with ourselves and about ourselves and what we accept as fact, with those Elohims that make up our willpower, with those deities and gods and goddesses and forces of nature that make up our willpower. You got to be honest with yourself about what you really tapping into. You got to be honest about yourself on what you really tapping into, because only actions speak louder than your word. I can say a whole bunch of muck, but the consistency of the work I'm doing shows what my mind is on, or what polarity my mind is on. Same thing goes for the opposite. So until we get that in tune, and as they say, opposites attract, especially with our marriages and our families. This is why, as the master teacher has mentioned, some of these black devils are your brothers, your sisters, the woman that you're sleeping with, the man you're sleeping with, laying in the same bed with. You want to look for your counterpart. Counterparts are what's supposed to attract, not opposite in that sense. People on two different paths, which is what's causing all of the confusion and why we can't get it together as a people, whether it's just us, our self-hate and prejudices against ourselves, or even deeper than that, amongst our families, our loved ones, especially our spouses. So with that, y'all, I rest my case for the night. Through the prayer, we're gonna call it a night. Much love. Want to give honors to everyone that came here tonight. I could have been anywhere in the world, but y'all are here with me, Dr. Lawiy, the Grand Sheik. We getting it in. I hope y'all had a good holy day. Blessed one. I will be putting up the replays on YouTube. So y'all can check that out whenever y'all get a chance. But y'all know how it goes. 2 fingers up, 5 fingers up. Let's get into this prayer. Feet at a 45-degree angle facing the east. And we do that because it's ancient custom, not because of masonry and the so-called Illuminati. These principles were taken from us, even with Eliphas Levi and him creating the Baphomet and all of the symbolism that he used. That much of that symbolism came out of ancient Egypt, and they took it and put it in the form of perversion, which is what they do. So with that, let's jump right into it. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Noble Joe Ali. Amen, y'all. Anybody got any last contributions, anything like that they want to add on before I close the room out? You know the time is now. If not, I'm going to be closing the room. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. Y'all have a blessed one. We're going to end at our respectable time. True peace, Noble Sade. True peace, Brother Jonathan. True peace, Brother Brian. Glad to have y'all with me. Check out the replays. Either here or come to YouTube. Come help us out. Come help us grow our YouTube channel as we create the content here in a simple way, and we put it on YouTube, and we grow our YouTube, and eventually we'll be coming together to take trips, put that on YouTube, and go on a spiritual journey that we can leave on record for the whole entire world, and set the example of how we are to operate from a nugalistic perspective, not theocratic. Not just theocratic, but a nugalistic perspective, a new logical perspective. We are your original newlogists who gave birth to your psychology, your parapsychology, your 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 NLPs and your mindset coaches and all these type of things. We are the origin behind that. So, and it wouldn't even be a theocracy without an actual nucracy, a nucratic way of thinking. And with that, y'all have a blessed evening, a wonderful night, and do your best. True peace. Wadu.